We've had people who have done big things, like stand up for the force in the Philippines and so on and so forth. Those actions also empower the people. But I don't believe that you need to do great things to empower the people. You do small things to empower them as well.
For Scarboro missionary Frank Hagel, a small thing was standing up to the violence of Peruvian radicals in the 1990s.
It was so violent. They would go into a village, they would separate the men from the women, the youth from the elderly. They would take the youth and they would tell them, don't run, because if you run, you're going to get shot. In Chiclayo, which is the place where I was in mission, it's in the northern coastal desert of Peru. And I remember one Saturday afternoon, a congregation of them came to the door saying, Father, you cannot say the Mass tonight because they're liable to open their knapsack and take out a gun and shoot you. No, I said, the Mass will continue. And you will help me by being sentries at the door. You will notice everybody comes in with a knapsack on because, as you know, people in this barrio don't have money to buy knapsacks. We can't be canceling Masses because Sendero Luminoso might be here. I said, that is not the way that we do things.
It was but one of many instances where Father Hagel held his ground and encouraged his parishioners to follow suit.
Now, whether I empowered them or not, I don't know. I hope I did. I hope I gave them a little bit of courage, you know, to stand up on their own 2 feet and to be who they were.
Empowering the poor is a byword of Scarboro Missions charism, and its meaning varies greatly according to the situation.
I think one of the principles is the dignity of all people and the right of people to make choices for themselves to determine their own future and be part of the future.
For 9 years, 1988 to 1997, Father Jack Lynch was director of ICI, which stands for the Inter-American Cooperative Institute, one of Scarboro Missions' most far-reaching efforts to empower the poor of Latin America. Founded by Scarboro missionary Father Harvey Steele in 1964 in Panama, ICI, over its 50-plus years, has brought together thousands of grassroots leaders from all over Latin America to exchange ideas on local economic development and to learn from each other how to cope with the violent politics then prevailing in many of their countries.
It was a very difficult time because of the turmoil in Central America. We lived through an awful lot in terms of the violence. A lot of the students who came were former guerrillas, people who had been in the hills in Salvador and Nicaragua. And when you listen to some of the stories, and you listen to some of the stories of survival, above all else, the idealism that they had would bring them together, let them listen to each other, they'd learn from each other, and we tried to systematize those experiences and then build on them.
For Father Ron McDonnell, a Scarboro missionary and a linguistic specialist, losing one's birth language can be an ultimate in disempowering a people. He, along with other Brazilian missionaries, have worked for 3 decades to assist local indigenous peoples to restore their languages, and slowly, over the past few years, progress has been made.
I was invited to go to the Diocese of Roraima in 1993 to work with the Macuaxí people. I've been there since, working with the Macuaxí people, mainly along the lines of language revitalization. About 10 years ago, there's a state law that the indigenous language has to be taught in all schools in the indigenous communities. So at least an hour a day. There are no schools which are totally taught either in Macuaxí or Wapishana. That would be an ideal, but at least there's this symbolic level where the language is taught. It's not often remembered, you know, that there was this sort of shame around speaking the language because indigenous people were not valued. It is a racism. So the language is a way of addressing that and saying, no, like this language, Makushi, is as important as Portuguese. An interesting project that we worked on was the publication of Makushi legends. This is a book of 30 Makushi legends that we published in April 2011. Well, the book is aimed at the revitalization of the Makushi language in the schools and the communities, is essentially to provide a literature in Makushi and self-confidence and pride in their language.
For Father Ron and all the members of the Scarboro Missions community, empowerment speaks to the possibilities of the whole person, economically, spiritually, and culturally.
It's the development of the full person, letting people be capacitated so they can enact and take on their own decisions in whatever problems that they're facing in their lives or in the community life. If we value a language or value people or spend time with the people, then we're saying, you are a value, you are worth it, you are valuable to me.